Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here. This session is brought to you by Forge College. So if you've been following along in our Solidity from Zero track, specifically the Inheritance and Interfaces course, you just finished up a really fantastic lesson on implementing interfaces. And, you saw firsthand just how strict interfaces can be, right? They kind of act like an ironclad bouncer at a club, demanding absolute compliance. But today, we're exploring a concept that gives you a little bit more breathing room while still keeping your architecture incredibly clean. We're going to dive into exploring abstract contracts. To kick things off, let's ponder a quick question. What exactly lies between those super strict interfaces we just learned about and fully baked, ready-to-deploy contracts? Think about it for a second. What tools do we actually have in Solidity when we want to share some core logic across multiple contracts, but we aren't quite ready to build the entire final product? We want a head start, sure, but we still need to leave some room for customization later on down the line. Well, here's our engineering blueprint for today. 1. The missing middle ground. 2. Interfaces versus abstract contracts. 3. Anatomy of abstract contracts. 4. The fee-base example. 5. Building your base contract. And finally, 6. Next steps and takeaways. Let's just jump right in. Okay, section 1, the missing middle ground, finding that sweet spot. Section 2, interfaces versus abstract contracts, strict rules versus partial builds. So if you picture an interface as that highly demanding group project member who sets up all the rules but literally does zero actual work, an abstract contract is the exact opposite. Where interfaces strictly allow zero implementation, abstract contracts give you a partial implementation. Think of it this way. If an interface is just a schematic drawing of a car with no physical parts, an abstract contract is like buying a physical car chassis straight from the factory. It's got the wheels, it's got the steering column, it's got the seats, actual usable parts that are going to save you a ton of time. But it doesn't have an engine. It's a partially finished prototype. You can't drive it off the lot just yet, but it absolutely does half the work for you. Let's actually put them side by side and compare their capabilities. Can interfaces have implementations? Nope. Abstract contracts? Yes, they can. Can interfaces store state data on the blockchain? No way. But abstract contracts? Absolutely. And what about function visibility? Well, while interfaces implicitly force everything to be external, abstract contracts give you total freedom. Any visibility goes. They let us write actual, reusable logic and store state, completely freeing us from those rigid rules of pure interfaces. Moving to section 3, anatomy of abstract contracts. Let's peek inside the blueprint. All right, here's the formal definition. An abstract contract is a contract containing at least one function without an implementation body, which prevents direct deployment. Now, let me really emphasize that last part. The Solidity compiler is notoriously smart and, honestly, notoriously stubborn. If it sees a function declared without any code inside of it, it puts its foot down, slaps an abstract label on the whole thing, and flat out refuses to deploy it to the blockchain. Why? Because it's technically unfinished. But hey, don't let that unfinished label fool you. Just look at the incredibly rich set of features you can pack into an abstract contract. You can declare state variables to hold your data. You can set up constructors to initialize that data. You can write custom modifiers to secure your functions. You can write fully implemented helper functions that do actual real work. And of course, you include those unimplemented functions that make the contract abstract in the first place. Instead of the demanding group member who does nothing, an abstract contract is basically your ultimate super helpful team member. It sets up the environment, does about 80% of the heavy lifting, and just asks you to finish that last 20%. And this brings us to the mechanical keywords that make all of this possible. In Solidity, when you leave a function unimplemented in your abstract-based contract, you absolutely must mark it with the keyword virtual. Think of virtual as drawing a blank, empty box on your engineering blueprint. It's you telling the compiler, hey, I'm intentionally leaving this blank for someone else to fill in later. Then when you create your final deployable contract, you use the keyword override. An override is you finally taking your pen and filling in that blank space with real executable code. Section 4, the fee-base example. Token fees in the real world. Okay, let's take all this theory and apply it to a highly practical real-world scenario. Imagine we're building an entire family of different token contracts. Now, these tokens all need to share some common administrative features, right? But they each have wildly different ways of calculating their transfer fees. This is the perfect job for an abstract contract. Step 1. We define an abstract contract. Let's call it fee-base. We give it an admin state variable and a constructor to set that initial admin. Step 2. We write a fully implemented shared function called change admin. Now, every single token that uses this base will automatically know exactly how to securely change its admin, and we didn't have to rewrite a single line of code. Step 3 is where the magic happens. We declare a function called calculate fee, but we leave it without a body and we mark it virtual. We've centralized the admin logic, but left the fee math completely 100% blank. So how does this build into our final product? Well, step 1, we create a new contract called token with fee, and we tell it to inherit from our fee base. Step 2, this derived contract steps up to finish the job. We write the calculate fee function, we throw in the override keyword, and we supply the missing engine. Let's say we implement a simple 1% fee math. Finally, step 3, we can now write our transfer function, which seamlessly uses both the shared admin logic we inherited from the base and the specific 1% fee math we just provided. The contract is fully implemented, the compiler is finally happy, and boom, it's road ready for deploying it.
All right, Section 5, building your base contract, compiling your partial blueprint.
Let's transition to a little hands-on checklist for your local testing. First, you're going to scaffold your feebase.sol file. Then, run your compiler using Hardhat or Foundry. Now, fair warning here, the compiler will absolutely yell at you if you forget your keywords, so double-check for any missing virtual or override keywords. Also, you got to ensure your function signatures match exactly. If the base contract says the fee function takes a uint256, your override function must also take a uint256, or it simply won't work. Once it compiles cleanly, go ahead and deploy that derived concrete contract to your local test node.
Now, how do you actually know you've done it right? Here is your validation check. When you look at the compiled ABI, the application binary interface for your concrete deployable contract, it should show everything playing nicely together. You should see the functions you wrote specifically for the derived contract, and you should see the inherited functions, like change admin, right there alongside them. If they're all present in that final ABI, congratulations, you have officially mastered the missing middle ground.
And that brings us to Section 6, next steps and takeaways. Let's wrap up this blueprint. Here's the quick recap. Abstract contracts allow for partial implementations, unlike interfaces. You definitely want to use them to centralize your shared logic. It is the ultimate way to avoid messy, duplicated code across your projects. Remember that interfaces are still incredibly useful, but they are strictly for defining an external ABI without any of the extra baggage. And finally, remember our keywords. Virtual leaves a blank space in your base contract, and override fills it in within your derived contract.
And that perfectly sets the stage for where we are heading next. Coming up in the course is building a modular contract skeleton. You're going to take these highly reusable abstract building blocks we just talked about, and you'll learn exactly how to snap them together alongside interfaces to build massive, highly modular, and super secure smart contract systems. It's going to be incredibly exciting to see how all these puzzle pieces fit together at scale. And with that, we wrap up today's explainer, again, proudly made by Forge College. I really hope this deep dive has given you some powerful new tools for your Solidity toolkit. But I want to leave you with a quick, provocative thought. If an abstract contract inherits from another abstract contract, how deep can this blueprint rabbit hole go before it breaks? Ponder that as you head over to forge.college to continue your Web3 journey and tackle the practice tasks. Keep building, and I'll catch you in the next one.